Today we'll be covering everything you need to know about advanced dining reservations at Walt Disney World, how to book them, which to prioritize, and of course, we'll get into our personal favorites. Hello and welcome to the Let's Go to Disney podcast. I'm Oliver.
And I'm Lucy.
Today is Sunday, September 28th, and you're listening to episode 107, Guide to Advanced Dining Reservations. Before we get into today's main topic, here's what's going on in the parks right now. It's a fairly light news week this week, but Animation Courtyard at Hollywood Studios is officially closed as of September 25th, which was Thursday. So the area is all walled off now, and the only thing that actually remains open is The Little Mermaid, a musical adventure, which makes sense because it just reopened in May after an extended closure and refurb, which was basically had been closed since the pandemic.
Yes.
So reminder that back in July, Disney announced that this area would become Walt Disney Studios as a loose replica of the actual Walt Disney Studios in Burbank with some fresh new offerings. And this is set to open sometime in 2026. It's a floating date, as always, as of right now. But yeah, as like anything else, when it gets closer, we'll know more.
Absolutely. And the Darth Vader meet and greet is not completely gone, though. You can still meet and greet with him in the queue over at Star Tours. BB-8 is nowhere to be found as of this recording, and Chewbacca is now over in Galaxy's Edge by the Millennium Falcon, which makes sense, in my opinion.
Yeah,
that's a good
sure.
spot for him.
Yeah, definitely.
Fort Wilderness will be getting a lobby refurbishment this October and November, which is coming up right away. Guests may see and hear constructions in the lobby until the project is wrapped up, which sounds like it's actually not going to take very long at all, so that's pretty good. It'll be ready to go probably for Christmas time, which is nice.
Yeah, and outside of that, there's nothing big or major going on with us. I took the day off on Thursday and Friday. My father-in-law helped us essentially regrade the outside of the house. So essentially we finished the basement earlier this year, but the last couple of winters when everything was, or in the spring rather, when things were thawing, we were getting just a little bit of water in the house. When we finished the basement, contractor said, no, everything looks good from the inside. It looks like it's your grading outside. So we fixed it all up. We brought it up several inches. Everything's now sloping away. So hopefully that fixes the issue because water in the basement now that it's finished would be
would be
not
terrible.
Good.
So shout out to my 65-year-old dad who is a rock star
100%.
and can keep up with my young, very fit husband, no problem.
Yeah,
so shout out to dad. Thank you.
For sure. Absolutely. I couldn't have done it without him. We pulled it's just rocks basically all around the house, like landscaping rocks all around the house. We pulled all that back. Yeah, it was like a physical job.
Oh,
but we got
absolutely.
it done. And
thank gosh the weather wasn't too hot because that would have been terrible for you guys.
Yeah, definitely. It was quite nice.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that's all done.
Same.
With that said, let's get into today's main topic, which is dining reservations at Walt Disney World. So it's been a couple of years since we did a guide to dining reservations kind of as a whole. So we figured it's high time we revisited the topic, right? Because some things have changed in that time. The overall system is not that different, right? In the sense that your 60-day window still applies. But the My Disney Experience app and the desktop website have definitely undergone like some quality of life improvements, just little things here and there that make booking just a little easier than it once was. And so we'll get into that today.
Yeah, so dining and just really eating in general during your trip, it's consistently a high cost item when it comes to your vacation budget as a whole. There certainly are ways where you can save some money and then make it so that it's not quite as expensive. But even if you have just one meal on property per day, it definitely adds up quickly. So really, you don't want to spend all that money on food if you are not going to enjoy it. So you should have a good idea of the landscape of the dining options across property. That's going to be a good way to make sure that you're going to make the best options for you to actually enjoy where you will be eating.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So pretty much anywhere you eat, it's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's Disney.
So if you go into it blind, right, and stop at any random place that you happen to be closest to, that could spell disappointment, right?
Yes.
It's just the reality. We're not saying that you can't do that. You can definitely go in with virtually like no plan and still enjoy your park days, especially if you kind of just have like a relaxed disposition as a whole. That's not me, but some of you out there are like that, and that's, more power to you. But for most guests, right, like we always say, a little preparation does go a long way. So Disney classifies their restaurant offerings across property in two main categories, which are table service, which like think your classic sit down experience where you're going to be waited on, and then quick service or counter service locations where you order your food and pick it up, similar to like a fast food experience that you'd have pretty much anywhere else outside the Disney bubble.
Absolutely. Another important difference between these two categories is that the vast majority of table service restaurants require dining reservations, whereas the quick service locations do not. There are a few exceptions where some table service locations don't have advanced dining reservations, and these are more often than not just going to be found with lounges attached to the table service restaurants. But as a general principle, that's pretty much the situation across property. And that's like in the parks, Disney Springs, and resorts. Now, if you've been to Disney before or you've started looking into dining reviews and processes for Walt Disney World, you've likely already realized that there's more than what meets the eye, and you would be very correct on that. A lot of folks go into it with the attitude of, we'll figure it out when we're there. We don't know what we'll want, so we'll just kind of figure it out while we're there. And like we said, that's valid and that definitely works. And we can understand how people would want to think that way. But where that strategy quickly falls through is that if you are on property and you walk by the castle and go, oh, I didn't realize there was a restaurant here. That would be a really cool, fun experience. So let's see if we can dine here. Only to be told by the cast members at check-in that there's absolutely zero availability because Cinderella Royal Table is a super competitive reservation and it definitely needs to be booked at 60 days out.
Exactly.
Hands down.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's some dining experiences on property that are like really fun and immersive and can definitely add, something extra to your trip. But like all other things with your Disney vacation, if you plan to eat kind of anywhere that's more popular, you're going to need to essentially look at advanced dining reservations so you're not left essentially disappointed when you're actually on property. So with that said, let's get into how reservations work. So depending on where you're staying is going to impact how your strategy is going to work.
Absolutely.
Essentially. So dining reservations become available to all guests 60 days before the date that you're set to dine at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So let's say you're looking to dine on December 1st, 60 days before that, which would be October 2nd at 6 a.m., you're going to be able to book whatever restaurant that has availability starting then. If you're staying off property, you're going to have to do this for every single day of your trip. So on October 2nd, you'd be able to book for December 1st, then on October 3rd for December 2nd, and so on to try to get the reservations that you're hoping for.
Yeah, that's right. So if you are staying on property at a Disney resort 60 days before your check-in day, you will be able to book dining for every day of your stay for up to 10 days. So using the same example, say you had a week-long stay and your check-in day was December 1st, on October 2nd at 6 a.m., you're going to be able to book all of your dining reservations for the week. This is a pretty big advantage for guests staying on property, especially when it comes to those hard to get reservations. It may seem like overkill to some, but honestly, make no mistake, some of the most immersive, fun, and absolutely delicious restaurants on property absolutely book out at 60 days. So if you really, really have your heart set on dining at a specific location, this could be the only way to get the date and time you are looking for.
Exactly. And a perfect example of this that's happening like as we speak is the Beacon Barrel Tavern over at Magic Kingdom.
I bet.
So it just opened and the hype is real right now. Unless you're a resort guest with a stay of at least a few days, it's extremely challenging to get a reservation like at all. Never mind getting the exact time and date you want, just like a reservation, period. Again, this might mean nothing to you, right? But if you're thinking, wow, that tavern looks awesome, right? I wouldn't mind getting a drink and small bites there. Then yes, absolutely. No doubt about it. You need to plan ahead with a sound strategy. So let's talk about how you can make your reservations. So like we said, 60 days before the day you're looking to dine, if you're staying off property, or 60 days from your check-in day, if you're staying on property, is when you can make your reservations. You can do this either on the Walt Disney World desktop website or on the My Disney Experience app on your devices. This can be, your phone, iPad, whatever.
Absolutely. Okay, so when your booking window opens, you'll be able to see the day or days you're looking to book. So again, off property, that would be exactly 60 days from the current day. For on property, that would be your check-in plus every other day of your trip. So using our earlier example, if you are checking in on December 1st and you are staying for a week, on October 2nd, you would see all availability from December 1st to the 8th. And yes, this does include your checkout day.
Yes, exactly.
You never know. You might have a late flight and you'll want to get a breakfast that day.
No, exactly. That's the thing. If you're not flying out to let's say 4, 5, 6 p.m., you
got lots of time.
You
for
might
a
go
good
into
meal.
the park, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can filter restaurants by every single table service on property, by park, Disney Springs, and each Disney resort. You can also filter by area, so Magic Kingdom Park and resorts, for example. You can also filter by restaurant types like character dining, signature dining as well. Or if you know exactly what restaurant you want to book, you can just pull up that restaurant's page directly.
Exactly. Now, when you're ready to book, you're going to select your party size, the date or date range you're looking to book, the time range, so like the time of day, and then finally the location area or the specific restaurant. When you're selecting the date, you can pick a specific day, so like December 2nd, for example, or a range, right? So think like, December 1st to December 8th.
Yeah.
And you can filter the times as well, like breakfast, lunch, dinner, or even more specifically, like you can do, any time between 6 and 8 p.m., for example. So I'll just double click on that. So a little essentially pro tip, right, is the date range can be advantageous to use if the reservation you're looking at is hard to get, and you also have flexibility in your plan. So let's say you were staying December 1st to 8th, right? And you were wanting to make a reservation for Beacon Barrel. You could select a date range of December 1st to 8th and see what's available during that time range and book what works best for you. If you only select a small window of time on December 2nd, for example, like early on in your booking window, and it's like, it has to be between 6 and 7 p.m., yeah, you might see nothing at all, right?
Yeah.
But if you open that up to several days, especially later on, you're more likely to see much more availability.
Oh,
right?
Especially later on. Absolutely.
Yeah. And again, like this is only a thing if reservations are hard to get, right? Like this doesn't apply to everything, but like those hard to get ones, yeah, this is definitely a thing.
Absolutely. And outside of that, we suggest selecting the restaurant and the date you're looking for around the time you are looking for. Having a bit of flexibility in your dining time should be good enough to snag most reservations, especially if you have the advantage of booking all of your days of your stay if you are staying on property. But be mindful that if you're really picky on dining time, let's say between 6 and 7 p.m., that may be harder to get. That's obviously peak dining times. So think between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. for lunch, and then 5 and 7 p.m. for dinner. These are going to be the first to book up. So if you're willing to eat outside of those peak times, you'll see that the availability hangs around a lot longer for sure. Like
definitely.
Honestly.
Yeah. If you're willing, for sure. If you're willing to eat lunch at like 2 p.m., say, or like eat a late dinner or an early dinner, yeah, you'll see
the options are a lot better.
Exactly. For longer. Yeah.
If you are staying off property, the hardest to get reservations will be exactly that. They're going to be hard to get. So we're going to talk about some strategies to potentially still be able to get what you want. But let's for a second assume you are staying on property and you have a few days to a week of a booking window. We strongly suggest putting your most hard to get reservations later in your trip. And the reason for this is that, let's say you want to do breakfast a la arte with Mickey and Friends, which is at Topolino's at the Riviera Resort. This can be a very tough reservation to get it. It's very popular. So if you try and book a specific time for the first day of your trip, there's probably going to be much less availability than if you tried to book it in the middle or towards the end of your trip.
Exactly, right? Because using our same example here, let's say you were looking for dining availability on December 7th, the only other people that are going to have the ability to book those times are people whose trip is just as long as yours, right? Or has the same days kind of overlapping, which is a much smaller pool of people, basically the further out you push that into your trip.
Absolutely.
So our pro tip here is basically stick your hardest to get reservations the later days of your trip and work your way back to the first couple of days with your easiest to get reservations, right? Or the ones that are less popular. If you only have 1 or 2 really competitive reservations, put those in the last couple of days and everything else should have decent availability, like for the most part, by and large.
This is a tried and true method, folks. Yep. I promise you this works.
Yep. Another pro tip is to have at least 2 people booking when your booking window opens, right? So that way you can make your bookings in essentially half the time. When we are doing it ourselves, right, Lucy and I will get up early and then divide and conquer, right? We split the days, of course, starting with the later days and the hard to get reservations. And then we get it done twice as fast, right? Again, it might seem like overkill, but if you're trying to book something like, Beacon Barrel, every second counts. We also usually have more than one device going. So I might have like my phone and our desktop, and Lucy, she could have the iPad and her laptop. You can have a couple of restaurants kind of ready to go and book them pretty closely together.
Yep, exactly. How in depth you want to go here is completely up to you. Oliver has done it all by himself as well, and we've done it with just one day at a time on one device, and we've still had success. At the end of the day, you just have to ask yourself, how important is it to me and my family? And if the answer is very, then why not do everything you can to give yourself the best chance of getting that reservation? If the whole thing sounds like it's just not worth it, that's cool too. There are a ton of restaurants on property, and we promise, even if you're not up at 6 a.m. on your booking window day, there's still going to be plenty of availability at a lot of the restaurants, just maybe not the most in-demand ones. And if you're at peace with that, then that's totally cool.
Exactly right. Early on, we put like a lot of pressure on ourselves for this, right?
It was stressful.
100%, super stressful. But nowadays, we kind of have it down to a science, and we don't overly stress about it. And, the vast majority of the time, we're still able to get exactly what we want. And, the benefit is that we've been to a lot of these places before. Yes. So if it weren't going to happen, it's not the end of the world. But, if it's your first trip, I totally get like the stress attached to that, right?
Absolutely.
So that's why we're giving you these tips to kind of set you up for success. And, like nowadays, advanced dining reservation, or ADR for short, right, is kind of a tradition and a milestone in our trip at this point. Like, it's always something that we look forward to, right? And 60 days always goes by in a blink. So it always feels more real. Like, I don't know, That for me, 100%. Like as once
2
we've
months
made our
out,
dining
yeah.
reservations, it's like, it's real now. It's coming up
It's
really
go
fast.
time.
Yep.
And like 2 months just fly by in our house most of the time, especially when we're busy with school and activities.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, that 60-day mark is awesome.
We're 46 days now
I
from
can't even
our
believe
Epic
it.
Universe trip.
I'm
So
almost
yeah.
like slow down a bit because I got lots to do
Yeah,
before our
exactly.
trip.
No doubt.
October's going to be a busy month.
Yeah, definitely. All right, now let's talk about what happens if the restaurant you wanted is completely booked up because, you're only at the parks for a couple days, or maybe you're staying offsite and every day you check, there's just no availability. All is not lost. Okay. Keep checking back every now and again. Sometimes, random reservations are going to pop up during the days that you're looking to dine. There are services as well, both free and paid, like Mouse Dining. So essentially, this is a service that's going to send you a push notification when a reservation you're looking for opens up. I've used their free service before. The free version sends you an email, and the paid version actually sends you a text, which is obviously, it can give you a bit of an edge because most people are going to check a text before they check their emails, right? So that's an option for sure. Also, most restaurants will have walk-up wait lists as well. So if you don't mind waiting for a while, like on the actual day, you can always add your name to the wait list and get into a restaurant that way. Note that the most popular restaurants may not be operating a wait list at all, so that just might not be an option, right? Yeah. But we've gotten in at places like Via Napoli, for example. I think either last trip or the trip before.
I think it was the trip before in September, yeah.
We just went up and essentially checked, and we think we waited like 15 minutes and we had a table. So
it was perfect.
That's certainly a strategy you can use as well.
Absolutely. And then outside of that, we highly suggest checking back in the days leading up to and then on the day of. We have honestly had major success using this strategy. In the last 24 hours or so, as people change plans, reservations are going to pop up. We have snagged Topolino's reservations this way, Ohana breakfast, Beaches and Cream over at the Beach Club, just to name a few. There is a 2-hour cancellation policy at most restaurants, so to avoid the no-show fee, people will often cancel in the last day or so before their reservations if they no longer intend to keep it. On our last trip in May with the kids, we were in line at Haunted Mansion. I think it was like 9 a.m. or so in the morning, and Oliver was able to snag a Ohana breakfast for just before 11 a.m. And that's a popular one, so those ones aren't easy to snag.
Exactly.
So after we rode a couple more rides, we hopped on the monorail, and then we had breakfast with Stitch over at the Polynesian. It was the spur of the moment thing, but honestly, it was the best thing because our daughter loves Stitch so much. It just made her trip.
Yep.
This happens all the time. So keep checking if you aren't able to book at 60 days, and you honestly could get lucky.
Absolutely.
Especially, I find on the day of.
Yeah, for sure.
I really find that on the day of, you can get lucky with that stuff.
We've had huge success using that. We've also been able to walk back reservations, right? So let's say
change our time.
They were a little bit late and we just wanted to dine a little bit sooner. We can move that. We've been able to move it earlier, right? Or
often
vice
we've
versa.
Done that.
Exactly.
Yes.
Like we're busy and we have a few more things we want to accomplish. So we push it back a little later as well.
Absolutely.
So but I just want to double click too on something that you said because you bring up a good point about cancellation windows. So essentially when you make a reservation, you do that on your Disney account, whether that's on the desktop site or the app. You need to have a credit card linked to your account or enter it when you make your reservation. And the reason for this is because if you fail to show for your reservation and you don't cancel within 2 hours, you're going to be charged a $10 per person no-show fee. So this might not seem like much, but for a family of 4, that's $40 on food that you didn't eat, right? So make sure to cancel reservations that you don't intend on going to within 2 hours for sure. Note that this also applies to modifications. So you can modify a reservation up to 2 hours before. After that, it asks you to call and you may or may not be able to, depending on the circumstances.
Yeah, exactly. And then some restaurants like Cinderella's Royal Table have a 24-hour cancellation policy instead of the 2-hour that applies almost everywhere else. You also have to pay for the entire cost of your meal ahead of time here. So it's a prefix menu here, meaning that the cost is set and you pick from select items. But if you no-show or fail to cancel within 24 hours, you forfeit the cost of the meal, which is not cheap, folks. For a family of 4, it's $88 per adult and $52 per child. So that would be a $280 tab, again, for a meal you did not eat.
Womp womp. That would be,
devastating.
Yeah.
Another thing we should mention is that unexpected things do happen, and Disney understands that. So let's say, for example, you were stuck on an attraction and then you were late for your dining reservation because of that. You can pull up the My Disney Experience app and talk to a cast member and explain the situation, or call Disney as well. They will put a note on your reservation that you are running late so that the restaurant knows you're coming, just not on time. If it's something out of your control like that, Disney tends to be really good about it, especially if you're good with them. They're going to be good for you.
Absolutely. That's happened to us a couple of times, right? So once we were at Test Track and we were stuck, right? The ride was down and we were a few minutes late to our Space 220 reservation.
Which is a very hard one to get.
Yeah, exactly. And then once on Barnstormer, we had a reservation at Cinderella's Royal Table. And essentially, both of these times, we were about 10 to 15 minutes late. The test track time, I had called Disney to let them know. And there were no issues when we got there. And then for CRT or Cinderella's Royal Table, we booked it from Storybook Circus as soon as we were let off of the Barnstormer. And I carried Sophia, and Lucy and Caleb were essentially hot on my heels. And we were only about 10 minutes late to that one. So there were no issues there as well. But we were sweating.
Yes.
And actually, on our last trip, we misjudged like hugely our timing a little bit.
Hugely.
And we were 15 minutes late to our San Angel Inn restaurant, which is in the Pyramid over in the Mexico Pavilion. And I pulled up a chat with a cast member on the app, on the My Disney Experience app for that reservation. And essentially, they just put a note on our reservation that we were on our way. And they were totally good about it when we did get there.
Yep.
Again, we were about 15 minutes late or so.
Exactly. And we don't have any personal experience with this, but we have heard from multiple different people on different occasions. If you have something that keeps you from your reservation within 2 hours, that can be someone's getting really sick. You can call Disney and they may waive the no-show or cancellation fee. There are no guarantees here, but there are legitimate reasons why you may have to miss a reservation. And Disney has been known to be accommodating in these situations, so it's always worth calling and checking.
Yeah, exactly. Just call, be courteous,
Yeah.
and generally speaking, they're super good about
Absolutely.
it. And with that, let's get into which dining reservations you should look at prioritizing, right? So I think for a lot of folks who either have never been to Disney or have only been like once or twice, they may not know like all the restaurants that are available and what they kind of have to offer in terms of, theming and menu options. And I've actually had conversations with a lot of people planning their first or subsequent trips that kind of have just no idea about the dining situation, right? And actually, a coworker of mine, he went to Disney a couple of years ago, and I distinctly remember him saying on that first trip, "Oh, we're not going to worry about dining reservations." And he went back essentially just over a year later, and this time they were eating at Cinderella's Royal Table, Ohana breakfast at the Poly. So long story short, you may not realize what you're actually missing until you've been there. But like we always say, if you kind of know the landscape just going in, you can decide if this is something that you want to experience during your trip, and then you don't have to feel like you're missing out.
Absolutely. So we're going to go over some of the more popular options across property, and then we're going to break these down by park and then Disney Springs, and then some of the resorts on property as well. So first up, let's go with Magic Kingdom. We've talked about it a couple times here, but Cinderella's Royal Table is one of the most in-demand reservations for the park. It's a character dining experience where you're going to meet and greet with 5 princesses. You'll get to dine inside the castle, which is kind of a bucket list thing for a lot of people. And we honestly can't blame them. It was one for us as well. We'd say it's definitely worth it at least once in your Disney traveling career.
Yes, for sure.
It's a prefix menu, like we mentioned earlier, where you're going to get to select from a relatively small list of menu items, 1 appetizer, 1 entree, and 1 dessert. The filet mignon and the chicken are both very good here, and the Clock Strikes 12 is a staple dessert here as well. They have accessible appies like cheese and fruit, and of course the entrees are kid-friendly as well, with mac and cheese and chicken fingers, fries, among a couple of other options. It's a splurge, there's no doubt about it. The food is good, but I honestly will say it's not amazing. And if you are paying these prices for the food somewhere else, you would probably be disappointed. Honestly, what you are paying for is dining in the castle and the meet and greets.
Yep.
So that can just make it worth it for anybody, in our opinion, especially if you have a little girl or boy who loves Disney princesses. This is the perfect meet and greet for that.
Exactly.
And honestly, the first time we went, the kids were so on the menu. The second time, our son's like, steak. I'm like, perfect.
I know,
just because I was very happy that he would choose that. It almost made it worth it that we had to pay a little bit more.
No, exactly. And like you said it perfectly. Like the price anywhere else would be outrageous. Yeah. And of course it is outrageous, but you're paying for the experience as a whole.
And it is a great experience. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And just like a couple of kind of just nice to know. So Cinderella is in the lobby when you first walk in. After you check in, right? You're going to meet with her and get your photo essentially while you're waiting for your party to be called upstairs where the dining room is. And then the other princesses come and see you during your meal. Again, this is a hot reservation. So if that sounds like, something that you'd like to do, book it 60 days out for sure.
Hands down.
Yeah. Another reservation that is popular but not as hard to get is Be Our Guest. So that's tucked back in Fantasyland in behind Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. This is another prefix menu, but you don't have to pay for your meal ahead of time. This is not a standard character dining experience. Beast will walk around the dining room, which is cool to see, but he won't actually stop at each table to meet and greet like a classic character meal. The restaurant is well themed with 3 distinct dining rooms, which are the Grand Ballroom, the West Wing, and the Rose Gallery. In our opinion, the West Wing and the Rose Gallery are a little more immersive and, like, I'd say a little bit better themed. So it's probably the most fun to dine there. The food is good here, not great, and not worth the price in our opinion. It's a fun atmosphere, and if you're a Beauty and the Beast fan, we'd say you'd probably enjoy this experience as a whole for sure. Prices are $72 for adults, $43 per child, which is really steep for what you get. So essentially only you can decide if that's worth it to you. And availability for this one has been hanging around, I'd say, longer than it has in previous years. But if it sounds like something you'd like to experience, you should definitely look at booking that at 60 days for sure, so that you don't miss out.
Yeah, I agree. The other table service restaurants at Magic Kingdom are typically not very hard to book. You have Tony's Town Square, just to the right when you walk into the park, right next to the Mickey's Meet and Greet. This is an Italian-inspired menu with touches of Lady and the Tramp theming. A little bit further up, you have Plaza Restaurant, which is at the end on the right side of Main Street. This is an American-style menu, so think burgers, sandwiches, that kind of thing. And then they do have good shakes and sundaes. We will give them that.
Yep.
These aren't too expensive by Disney standards, and neither of these are particularly hard to get reservations. And you could definitely find some availability at honestly any point in your booking window. This will often be a last-minute reservation type of restaurant as well.
For sure. If you're strapped, you'll
There's
definitely
usually
be able to
times,
find
decent
definitely.
times too.
Yep. And then on the left side of Main Street, all the way at the end, is Crystal Palace. So this is a character buffet with the gang from 100 Acre Wood. It's a little steeper in price because of that, right? So it's $62 per adult and $42 per child. There's a ton of options that are going to appeal to most guests, right? Because it's a buffet, right?
Yeah.
It's not overly hard to get reservations here, a little bit more so for breakfast, but it's not nearly as popular as Cinderella's Royal Table, right? And then over in Adventureland, you have Jungle Navigation Company Limited Skipper Canteen, or just Skipper Canteen. That's what most people call it. This has definitely had an uptick in popularity since the movie with Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt came out just a couple of years ago, I think.
Yep,
it's probably even more than that now.
Maybe even 3 or 4, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But essentially has a fun menu with some more unique option than your kind of like standard theme park food. And the cast members are skippers, right? So they're going to have like punny humor for you. And yeah, the dining room itself is just really well themed. This is one of our personal favorites at Magic Kingdom for sure. Not super expensive, not hard to book, so it can be a good option, definitely. Yeah.
Agreed. And then Liberty Square has Liberty Tree Tavern and Diamond Horseshoe. Both of these are restaurants with American cuisine served family style, so think Thanksgiving dinner type offerings. Neither are too expensive, and they actually have very similar menus. Both of them have the ooey gooey toffee cake for dessert, which is extremely tasty. And these are good ones to get last minute reservations for, because honestly, neither restaurant is super popular, but I'm going to give a shout out to Liberty Tree Tavern because we ate there and it was delicious.
Yeah,
food.
Especially if it's like not a super hot time of year.
Yeah, like that's a good Christmassy type fall.
Yeah, if you're
Christmas
there in November,
one.
December,
that's
definitely.
a great one.
Yeah, for sure.
And then over at Hollywood Studios, Sci-Fi Dine-In Theater Restaurant is extremely popular. This restaurant is themed to a classic drive-in, and the booths inside are shaped like cars. The ceiling looks like the night sky, and then there's a large screen at the front that all the cars are pointing to that plays old, silent sci-fi clips. It's reasonably priced diner food, so you're going to think burgers, fries, milkshakes. This is a fan favorite for a lot of people, us included. This is our go-to for us in Hollywood Studios. It's my favorite Hollywood Studios restaurant.
Me too. Yeah.
It does book up at 60 days, so we would prioritize this at 60 days for sure. It won't be as competitive as some of the others we've already mentioned, but if you wait too long, honestly, every reservation is going to be booked up for this one too.
Yep. Another popular option is Roundup Rodeo Barbecue. So this is a Toy Story themed restaurant in Toy Story Land. Makes sense, right? The theming is super cute, and there's like just heavy theming throughout, right? There's even going to be like announcements telling you that Andy's coming, and then everyone freezes, including the cast members, just essentially like the toys of the movie, right? Which is super fun. The menu is served family style and features barbecue themed offerings and sides. It's not bad. It's not the best food.
Yep.
You're here more definitely for the theming for sure. When it first opened, it was super hard to get a reservation here. It's mellowed out since, but still, if you want to dine here, don't delay because same thing, it's going to book up.
Yeah.
You also have Hollywood Brown Derby, which is a signature restaurant, meaning it's going to be a touch more expensive. And like that's relative because everything we've talked about is somewhat expensive. It serves contemporary American cuisine. You're going to find a good selection of different appetizers and entrees, including their hugely popular Cobb salad, which is really good, and their signature grapefruit cake. The main restaurant does require advanced dining reservations, although they're not overly hard to get. And something we haven't really mentioned yet to this point, but it applies here. Hollywood Brown Derby has a lounge attached to it that does not require advanced dining reservations, and it serves up many of the same options, essentially from the full menu next door at the restaurant. including the Cobb salad and the grapefruit cake. So that's certainly an option if you weren't able to snag a reservation.
And I know personally, that's what I would get every time if we ate at Hollywood Brown Derby. So that's like the perfect option if we can't get a reservation, but we're craving that Cobb salad because it's very good.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of these restaurants across property have lounges where that's the case. They serve some of the options. They honestly usually pick their most popular, best ones from the restaurant that they're attached to, and then those don't require reservations.
Yeah,
it's a nice little option to have if you were just craving just a specific menu item that's really popular. It's a nice option to have.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And then you've also got Hollywood and Vine. This is a buffet of standard American cuisine. It's also a character buffet, so prices are a little bit steeper. For breakfast, it's the Disney Juniors characters, so Fancy Nancy and Vampirina. And then for dinner, it's Minnie's Seasonal Dine with Minnie, Mickey, Goofy, and Pluto. So for us, it would make more sense to go for dinner because we don't know Fancy Nancy and
yeah,
Vampirina.
The kids are kind of outgrew that
one. So for us, that would make more sense to go for dinner. Depending on the season, their costumes are going to change to match that season. Prices are $63 for adults and $42 for children. So again, that's character pricing for you. Again, not as competitive as some of the other ones we've mentioned before, but it can book up.
Yes.
You also have 50s Primetime Cafe. This is a restaurant themed to a 50s dining room where the cast members are your extended family. They play a part and they guilt you for not finishing your plate, and they make comments like, you have your elbows on the table and just stuff like that. It's all very good-natured fun. They serve American comfort food like fried chicken here, and they do have the attached tune-in lounge as well. It's not overly difficult to get reservations here either. It's just a really fun atmosphere that you can just be carefree kind of and joke around and have fun with it.
For sure. And if you're totally an introvert and that sounds awful, then probably avoid it.
Yes, because they will talk to you and pick on you.
Yeah, exactly. And then over in Animal Kingdom, you've got Yak and Yeti. So this has Nepal-style theming to match kind of nearby Expedition Everest. And the menu is Pan-Asian, right? So think of wide variety of really good options that differ from your usual theme park food. It's not super hard to get reservations here, and we do like the food here. In the Africa section of the park, you have Tusker House. So this is another character buffet. Mickey, Donald, Daisy, and Goofy are going to greet you in their kind of safari gear. The buffet offers a lot of standard options with some more adventurous options sprinkled in. So most folks should be able to find something that they're going to enjoy here. It's $64 for adults, $42 per child. Again, pretty steep pricing and not super hard to get reservations for. And then over near the entrance to Pandora, you have Tiffin's. This is another signature restaurant. It has a good menu of international cuisine that's going to appeal to a lot of different palates. They do have a really good bread service here. It's not as good or extensive as Sanaz over at Animal Kingdom Lodge, but still tasty. And yeah, it's not hard to get reservations at the main dining room here. And we haven't really been going into the lounges so much because they don't require reservations, but the lounge here is named the Nomad Lounge. And it does not take reservations. The walk-up waitlist, though, does fill up because it's not a secret how good this place is.
Honestly, 100%. It's super popular for good reason. They have this outdoor seating area that overlooks the water that splits Discovery Island from Pandora. The vibes here are so chill, so relaxed. That sitting on the patio is the best place.
I love it there. Yep.
It has a really good menu with some good small bites, including that bread service from Tiffin's. And then it also has potentially the best churros at Walt Disney World property.
They are the best ones I've had anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. It's honestly a really good selection of cocktails too. This is another one of our personal favorites. We wouldn't necessarily go here with the kids because they're not about just chilling and having a drink.
But you and I,
every trip that we're solo.
Yep.
And then just outside the front gates to the park, you have Rainforest Cafe. This is obviously a chain restaurant, so it's no different than the one at Disney Springs or anywhere else you might have visited before, but that is an option as well.
Yeah, exactly. I ate at a Rainforest Cafe in Niagara Falls when I was just a kid. And yeah, so we just wouldn't prioritize this at all for this reason, right? It's not exclusive to Walt Disney World, but it's there if you wish.
The kids would probably think it's kind of fun,
I'm sure
but it's just very,
but for us,
it reminds me of like a Hard Rock Cafe or something like just standard American food.
Yeah. Like bubblegum shrimp too, but I love bubblegum shrimp.
Hang on there. I love bubblegum shrimp.
Yeah.
That's a go-to every time.
And then next up, Epcot. So Epcot has a ton of table service restaurants. So we're just going to mention the top reservations to prioritize, with the first being Space 220.
Yes.
So this is a more recent restaurant, having just opened a few years ago in 2021. And it's still pretty busy in the sense that it's pretty
popular,
it's still challenging to get a reservation here for a specific time or date. Reviews for the most part are actually pretty split on this place. People either love it or hate it.
Which is crazy to me.
Yeah, because I think it's for two reasons. So it's really expensive and it is prefixed.
That's true.
So
yeah.
we've had the steak and the short rib here, and we've really enjoyed the food. And our kids have as well. They've had the sliders a couple times, and they've, can't go wrong
They
with
just
sliders and
love
fries.
being in that restaurant.
But we just love the theming here, the elevator to space and the giant windows that kind of look out into space. Like it's like you're looking out at Earth and there's like, astronauts floating by, spaceships,
like rocket ships going across. Yeah.
It's just super, super cool. To us, it's worth it at least once just for that. And this is another one you're definitely going to want to prioritize at 60 days if you want to try it. The price is $79 for adults, right, which is pretty steep, and $35 for kids, which isn't too bad. The menu is accessible, right, with space-themed takes on classic dishes. So it's going to have like a spacey name, but it's like Caesar salad or steak.
Another popular option at Epcot is Via Napoli over at the Italy Pavilion. This place serves authentic Italian-style pizzas, and oh boy, do they do it well. Delicious, hands down. Like such good pizza. I love this place.
Absolutely.
This is another one of our go-to restaurants on property without the kids or with the kids, because our kids absolutely love it here as well. They really enjoy the pizza. Many people do as well. So while it's not as hard to get a reservation as the other places we mentioned, we would still prioritize this one at 60 days. Prices are decent here as well. It's not going to break the bank, and you get delicious food.
Yeah. You can get a lot of pizza for not too expensive.
They have pasta too, but their pizza is just top notch.
Yeah.
You also have Le Cellier Steakhouse in the Canada Pavilion. This is another signature restaurant with higher prices. It has good steak and their very famous Canadian cheddar cheese soup. It's a good steakhouse, but it's honestly not the best on property. Having said that, it's not overly difficult of a place to get reservations for, but it is one that people tend to gravitate to.
Yeah, agreed.
Canadians have good beef, so that's why.
And cheddar cheese soup, apparently.
Apparently, I don't think I've ever had cheddar cheese soup in my life as a Canadian, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So another one of our personal favorites, especially mine, I really enjoy this restaurant, is La Hacienda de San Angel at the Mexico Pavilion. Not to be confused with San Angel Inn restaurant inside the pyramid. This one is not inside the pyramid. The theming, we will concede, is better inside the pyramid, 100%, but the food is way better at La Hacienda in our opinion. We've had both. Hands down, La Hacienda wins every single time.
Yep.
Both have Mexican cuisine, obviously. And we're honestly partial to La Hacienda. And it's honestly not that hard to get a reservation here, which is awesome. We have scored a day of, I do believe.
Yeah, definitely last minute reservations here for sure. And for character dining, you have Akershus Royal Banquet Hall. So this is a character meal served family style. It's a mix of American and Norwegian cuisine, which is actually not going to appeal to all. So just fair warning there. But the good thing about Akershus is that it's a great way to get to essentially meet a bunch of princesses without the wait. And it's not nearly as difficult to get a reservation here as it is at Cinderella's Royal Table at Magic Kingdom. So it's a good alternative. And it's a little bit more affordable as well. Prices are $69 per adult and $46 per child. We know it's still expensive, but it's just not quite as expensive as Cinderella's Royal Table.
True.
And then over in the Land Pavilion, you have Garden Grill, which is another family-style character dining experience. It's American-style cuisine, and you're going to get to meet and greet with Chip, Dale, Mickey, and Pluto. It's $62 per adult and $42 per child, which again, these character meals are never cheap, right? The plus side for this place, though, is that it's not overly hard to get reservations, and the restaurant actually rotates, which is fun. And then it gives you kind of views of the Living with the Land attraction below, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and then outside of that, you have some other good options at Epcot, like Spice Road Table at the Moroccan Pavilion. That's a delicious
Yeah, they have good
spot.
like hummus and stuff like
so
that.
So good. Yeah. Beer Garden in the Germany Pavilion, Teppen Edo, that's in the Japan Pavilion. All decent options that will have reservations readily available for a lot longer than some of the other ones we've mentioned here before.
Agreed, yep.
All right, so switching gears here, let's talk about dining at the resorts. Some of the best restaurants on property are tucked away at the resorts, and then some of these are very competitive to get reservations for. So some of these restaurants that we're talking about are Ohana at the Polynesian, which is always competitive and should definitely be prioritized at 60 days. This is a character meal for breakfast, so you're going to meet Stitch, Lilo, Mickey, and Pluto, and it serves a standard American breakfast, family style. For dinner, it's not a character meal, but it's a delicious, and I'm going to emphasize delicious here, menu of various meats like steak, chicken, and peel and eat shrimp, the hugely popular Ohana noodles, and the famous bread pudding for dessert. This is a go-to for us. We love dinner here.
Absolutely.
Honestly, the breakfast was fun too, especially if you have Stitch fans in your party like we do.
Yeah, the food was just okay.
It was
the meet and greet for
it was
Sophia.
perfect.
Yeah.
But the dinner here is amazing.
Yeah.
Nobody else has dinner like that.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Guaranteed. Yep. And then over at the Contemporary, they have a couple of good options as well. So California Grill is on their top floor, which is a prefix signature dining experience with fireworks views. If you time your reservation right, and if not, you can always bring your receipt back and then come to the viewing area to watch the fireworks from if you've dined there like essentially earlier in the night. Reservations can be tough to get, especially for dinner for that reason. And then Steakhouse 71 is another good option as well at the resort. I think it's on the 3rd or 4th floor.
I think so, yeah.
And they have a good food, right? In a lounge that doesn't require advanced dining reservation. I've had the Stack Burger here, which is really tasty.
It was very good.
The Grand Floridian has Narcoossee's and Citrico's. Both of these are signature dining experiences with fine dining kind of American cuisine. Think like seafood and higher end meat options. Reservations aren't too bad to get. And then you also have actually 1900 Park Fair, which reopened last year after having been closed since the pandemic. And this is a lovely buffet, right? It's really
such good food. I was
100%.
so impressed with this buffet spread.
Yeah, 100%. Really, really solid food. And then you get to meet and greet with Aladdin, Cinderella, Mirabelle, and Princess Tiana, which they're kind of, different characters that you don't always get to see.
That's so true, yeah.
And yeah, like we're saying, this is probably the best buffet experience we've had on property up to this point.
Yeah, I'll honestly say like where you're dining, like the tables and stuff, nothing really to write home about.
It's nice in there, but it's not
nice,
super
but it's not like
themed.
super themed. But the food and then those characters, just excellent. I would go back there again.
For sure. And we finally had that strawberry soup and it was pretty tasty.
It was tasty. I agreed.
It's steep, of course, for prices, right? $69 for adults and $44 per child, but it's the way she goes.
It's worth it. Honestly, that food was really good.
Yeah, exactly. And then over at the Wilderness Lodge, you have the hugely popular Storybook Dining at Artist Point. So this is another prefix menu with a beautifully themed restaurant space, right? Where you're going to get to meet and greet with Snow White, Dopey, Grumpy, and then the Evil Queen. The menu here is solid. One of our favorite character dining experiences when it comes to food alone.
Agreed.
And this reservation is super competitive. So we strongly suggest booking this at 60 days and then putting that later in your booking window because this does book up fairly far in advance.
Yeah. Honestly, they have such a fun kids menu with like just the way it's themed and presented, I guess is the word.
Yeah.
And then their prime rib with like Yorkshire pudding and veggies.
So good.
So good.
And like we don't want to spoil anything, but then they bring you like a little casket with like a chocolate heart, and then
tons of options for like
invitation
desserts.
To go meet the queen. The whole thing is just
it's just really well done at that restaurant. Hands down, definitely worth the price of that one. Over at Fort Wilderness, you have the Hoop-de-Doo Musical Review, which is a dinner and a show. It serves all-you-can-eat barbecue-style cuisine, and apparently it's a riot. We've honestly never eaten here, but we've definitely heard good things.
Only ever heard good things. Yeah, we'll have to try it eventually.
And then over at the Riviera Resort, you have Topolino's, which we have alluded to already. This is home to the best character dining experience on property, in our humble opinion. For breakfast is breakfast a la arte with Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Daisy. It's an a la carte menu, and it is legitimately delicious breakfast options. We have been here 4 times now for breakfast, and each experience has been phenomenal.
Each time,
The cast members that work there are wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the higher end of pricing, of course, being a character meal, but it is well worth it. It's a hot reservation, so you definitely have to prioritize this at 60 days.
Have to, for sure. And then over at Animal Kingdom Lodge, you've got Sanaa. So this has an African and Indian-inspired menu, right? It includes the delicious bread service that is 100% worth a trek out to the resort for, just for that. The reservation isn't super difficult to get, and I think that's probably because of the location, right?
Agreed.
It's a bit out of the way for most people. But we'd lump in kind of a visit to the resort, check out the savannas, go to the Mar and grab some zebra domes. And yeah, you can definitely make it worth it. Animal Kingdom also has Boma, which is a solid buffet option, and Jiko, which is a signature dining experience with African-inspired cuisine. And both of these places are really good, but fairly easy to get reservations for, especially last minute. We were staying here last September.
We were,
and remember that was a day that Sci-Fi closed. Like they
had
a kitchen fire.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, just randomly. So yeah, Sci-Fi closed. We ended up leaving Hollywood Studios early, snagged a last minute reservation at Boma, and we ate there.
And with that situation, cast members were very helpful with everybody that was there.
They actually made the reservation for us.
They made the reservation for us and for plenty of other dining people that were there. So don't stress if that happens. They usually can figure something out for you.
Exactly. They'll take care of you. Yeah.
Over in the boardwalk area, you've got Beaches and Cream, which is on the lobby area of the beach club. It serves a good diner style menu, and it has a huge dessert menu with delicious sundaes, including the kitchen sink, which is a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. The whole can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
this can actually be hard to get a reservation for just because the atmosphere itself, and then the desserts, I think, is what really calls people going for.
Because burgers and fries, it's just burgers and
Sure.
fries. They're nothing to write
And
home
they're
about.
fine, but
they do have solid dessert options.
Yeah.
The No Way Jose Sundae, which is like chocolate, peanut butter. Yeah, that's
right up your alley.
Yeah, exactly.
Beach Club is also home to the Cape May Cafe, which is a lovely buffet breakfast named Minnie's Beach Bash Breakfast with Minnie, Donald, Daisy, and Goofy. It's $49 for adults and $29 for kids for breakfast. The food is good, not great, but it's a good character meal. Reservations should be made at 60 days for this one. For dinner, it's not a character meal, but it's a surf and turf buffet, not nearly as exciting as the breakfast, obviously. And then across the water near the boardwalk, you have the newly opened Cake Bake Shop. The restaurant features Southern comfort food, and for desserts, they have all the cakes, pies, cookies, everything you could want from their bakery next door. Reservations have been pretty competitive for this one, so we would definitely book this one at 60 days as well.
Agreed, 100%. And then over in Disney Springs, you have literally a ton of dining options.
Too many options, almost.
Yeah, there's literally hundreds of dining options over, split between table service, quick service, and snack.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
There is a lot there. And then the hardest to get reservation as of this recording is probably Chef Art Smith's Homecoming.
I would agree.
Yeah, because it just seems to always be hard to get.
They're at a really good location too on the water.
Yeah. It is a nice restaurant for sure. They serve delicious Southern style comfort food. We would definitely prioritize this place at 60 days if that interests you, especially if you want brunch, which only happens on the weekends.
True.
That's a really hard reservation.
I think a lot of locals would probably eat there for lunch. So
why wouldn't you? Yeah, totally. Other good options are Raglan Road, which is an Irish pub with a live band, dancers, and really good eats. The fish and chips here are solid. Boathouse, which is probably the most extensive menu of any of the places we've mentioned so far, and everyone is going to be able to find something that they're going to like here. Other solid options are Wine Bar George, which has a tapa style menu. Think a bunch of small bites. Morimoto Asia, which is an upscale Asian cuisine restaurant. Summer House on the Lake for classic and kind of Southern options. Haleo for Spanish style tapas, just to name a few. Outside of Homecoming, we've had really good success making last minute reservations as a whole at the Disney Springs restaurants. So none of these places are particularly hard to get reservations for. And you can find especially last minute reservations as well. If you're kind of you leave the park early and you want to go have dinner in the Springs, you'll usually be able to snag something.
Yeah. And that's just because there's so many options in Disney Springs. These are all great restaurants.
Yeah.
There's just so many options that they do have availability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And another one we haven't even mentioned, but Frontera Cucina,
which is
one. A Mexican.
Yeah.
Super good there too.
Very good.
Yeah.
So obviously that was a lot. And we mentioned a lot of restaurants, but left out a lot as well. There's just so many on property. Of all the ones we've mentioned, the toughest to get reservations is going to be Cinderella's Royal Table, Storybook Dining at Artist Point, Space 220, Topolino's Breakfast, Ohana, 1900 Park Fair, and Sci-Fi Dine-In. All the other ones fall somewhere just below or honestly way below these places. Moral of our story is this. If any of these places are on your list, definitely look at booking when your ADR window opens and think about putting them later in your trip if you are staying on property. If you're staying off property and aren't able to snag one, don't despair. Keep checking, sign up for notification services, and if all else fails, check religiously the 24 hours before when you were hoping to dine and check if they have a walk-up wait list available.
Exactly. At the end of the day, these dining experiences are fun, right? Some have great atmosphere or meet and greets, and some just have phenomenal food. But at the end of the day, these are trip enhancing, okay?
Yes.
So they won't make or break your trip. So if you don't get the reservation you're hoping for, well, first of all, Lucy said, don't despair, right? You may still get lucky, but if you don't, there are plenty of places to eat on property. You're not going to go hungry, and you can still have a magical trip, we promise. And then the last thing I'll say is if we missed any place that you really love and that you kind of find hard to get reservations for that we didn't mention, let us know. We're curious to hear your thoughts and your experiences. And I'm racking my brain now. Is there anything glaring that we missed?
I don't think so. I think we covered pretty much the popular ones, the mid-level ones, and everything. Obviously, there's tons of quick service, counter service options.
And there's a ton of table service that we didn't mention.
There's a few lounges too that aren't necessarily considered quick service. So think Geysers Point.
Yes.
Right? That's over at Wilderness Lodge.
Mm-hmm.
This you do not need reservations for, but there's usually a walk-up wait list,
For
right?
sure.
So,
and it does book up because it is popular. And it's the same thing
it's
over
right
at
on the water
Three
too.
Bridges at Coronado.
So these two restaurants at these resorts are open concepts. So they're not like they're outside, but they have like cover or whatever. They're right on the water. You can't make a reservation for them, but there's usually a wait list, right? Because they're popular because it's still sit down. You know, there's a menu that you look from. So but they're just not available for dining reservations.
No, exactly. Which it can be a double-edged sword. Sometimes it's nice because you can just walk up, but then if there's only a walk-up list, then if it books up, then it books up. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it is what it is.
But those two are definitely top tier.
Yes. Just as an aside, Geyser Point and Three Bridges. Definitely consider those if you're staying at either resort or you're going to visit either resort. Yeah. With that said, thank you for joining us today to talk Disney dining. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And as always, if you could leave us a rating and review, it would be greatly appreciated. If you choose to do so, you can leave reviews right on Apple Podcasts. And for Spotify, you can leave a rating.
You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Let's Go.to-Disney, as well as on our Facebook page, Let's Go to Disney. We share some helpful reels here as well as some fun ones. The link tree in the show note will take you to all of our socials.
Have a great day and we'll see you real soon.